Hello, everybody. I am Dave Prime. Welcome to the OG Technically Correct, where we technically talk about Star Trek episodes. Depending on what the episode is, we'll focus on the episode, talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, and then it sometimes kind of goes off in its own little thing. But before we do that, we got my co-host Captain Katie over there. How are you doing, my dear?
I've got my little typing companions with me tonight.
Aw, you didn't show those
Yeah.
backstage. Those are cute. Did they
Yeah,
bobble as you're typing away, or are they
they
just like,
do because I'm back to writing now. And I'm making really good progress. And my mother made these.
hmm,
And they fit just nicely on my fingers, and they don't get in the way neither.
that's definitely a plus.
Yeah, so I thought that I would introduce them to Technically Trek tonight.
Right. Oh, have you got names for them?
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah, a
that
lot
one
of
I've decided to name Mustard.
mustard. Yeah, because he's
Yes.
or musty for short.
Yeah. Mustard the cat. And this is a little doggy,
Aw.
but I haven't got a name for him yet.
Hmm. Well, say it's been another crazy week for me personally, and not as I
Don't get me
as I've
started.
As I often said that if I was on the planet Bajor, I'd still not have enough hours in the day to get all the shit that I need to get done taken care of. But
Yeah.
see, I'm going to see a specialist about this lump on my upper lip and see if something can be done about that. Because starting to do this show, I'm noticing, wow, that is a big honker down there. So fingers crossed that I can
Very hopefully.
addressed.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's
Um,
been a very major week for everyone this week. I've had like 3 major appointments. I found out that I may need to have an ankle reconstruction. I've got to go on antibiotics,
Oy.
and yeah, so it's really not good. But I am alive.
That
So
that is a plus. And
I'm
yes,
alive, so I really don't care what's going on right now.
but I just got a blip on my phone that the incumbent mayor in Seattle say the challenger Katie Wilson has pulled ahead of him in the latest round of votes that have been counted
Oh,
since the election last week. So it's like Harold he had a sizable lead, and just as every day the mail-in ballots, which I am totally for mail-in voting. Say Washington State, you can as long as it's postmarked by election day, it's going to count. I say a lot of people they drop them in the ballot boxes. Some they actually physically mail, so it gets there. And then of course our current administration is saying "Oh, you can only vote the day of. That's it, nothing else. Blah blah blah. See that if he wants to do something like that, he needs to make election day a federal holiday where you get paid time off so you can actually go there. I'm going way off the technically trail tonight on that one, but I mean, just once I started talking about it, it's it's important. I mean, mail-in voting should
yeah.
count because not everybody can make to the polls. I remember going to the polls back in 2008. I on my lunch break, I was gone for almost an hour because the line was so long. But fortunately, my
Yeah,
employer they
postal
were
votes are
understanding.
still. Yeah, postal votes are still quite a big thing over here. Online voting as well. But I don't do politics. I really don't. I've said it many times. I don't like politics. I don't like politicians. I don't even like our own prime minister.
Mm.
And it. I mean, without naming any names, it was really funny. One of my friends, we had Remembrance Day
Mhm.
for uh, war veterans and that last week, and she put a message in the chat saying because she's a mother to 2 children, and it was an event for send children as well, and trying to keep a group of children quiet at the best of times for like the 2-minute silence is a task in itself. But when it's children with special educational needs, oh boy.
Yeah, and
And
say
she was,
our friend Cassie, he can definitely
yeah.
if he's watching, he's like, yep.
Yeah, and so like sign language is used sometimes, and she said that she got into trouble for signing that Keir Starmer was a wanker. And I laugh, and I'm just like, but he is. But yeah, so that's what we think of politics across here.
Well, see, before we go deep into the conversation about tonight's episode, Dreadnaught, it's another AI-ish episode where the AI kind of has a mind of its own, and like you said in the pop up earlier, just when it goes awry, which I mean it went off the rails. I mean it was smart. It learned a lot more than Balana thought it was going to learn. But there's like two little geeky tidbits. But say Travis, he's backstage. He's got one of them. But before we bring him in, Zach on, say that I learned recently that like the Inspector Gadget, the '80s cartoon, the theme song that was written by I am Saban and Suki Levy. I probably butchered the pronunciation of their names. If their names are synonymous with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, if I'm not mistaken. But no one knows who sung the lyrics. You can even look it up on Google. Who sang the theme song to Inspector Gadget? They say nobody knows. Well, Suki and Levy, they did some of the background voices, the actual voice that Inspector Gadget. Yeah, no one knows who sang that. It's kind of like Kit with Knight Rider saying William Daniels did not want to be credited on the show, so if it was not till the age of the internet it was found out that yeah, he was the voice of Kit.
Well, here's something very interesting. Right, everybody knows that I'm a big bookworm. Everybody knows that.
Should I bring the others from backstage while you share this bit?
Yes. Well, do you know the movie Casper with Christina Ricci? Well, do you know when Casper is made human and they're dancing and he says that one line, "Can I keep you?" Well, that exact line was not spoken by the child actor who played human Casper. And I only found this out recently because I'm such a book geek. I joined TikTok just so that I could watch lives from Blue Nose Audio. And there's my favorite male narrator, Joe Arden. He is absolutely amazing. And he was working on that movie, Casper. And he actually delivered that line because it had gone wrong in production or something. And they couldn't get the child actor who played human Casper. They couldn't get him back to do a re-recording of it. So Joe Arden provided the voice for that line, but he didn't want to be credited. I don't know if he is credited on it. I can't remember what he said, but yeah, that just people not taking credit for things that they do, and that is a very iconic line from Casper as well. And so yeah, I know that's not Star Trek, but we was just on about like nobody knows who does voices and people not taking credit. But yes, I just thought I'd throw that out there, a little bit of trivia for you.
Well, that's cool. And Travis, he brought a bit to on this day in history, a very, very popular TV show first aired. Take it away, Travis.
Hello everybody. Greetings and all and everything else. For most people who are living here in the United States and stuff, if you're I want to say if you're at least maybe 30 or 35 or older, you would probably when you were sick and you stayed home and your parents flipped on the TV because at the time, in the 70s and 80s and stuff like that, to keep your kids occupied when they're sick in bed, they flip on the TV. And one thing that parents, flipped on was a popular TV show that debuted in 1969. That year was such a big year in our history and stuff. But the show called Sesame Street. Sesame Street is 56 today. And it's got one of the most iconic theme songs that a lot of us grew up with listening to. We grew up with Jim Henson. He
La
created
la
some
la
of the
la
most
la 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 la.
we grew up with some of the most iconic, puppetry characters in our life, as kids that we grew up. Even now, you look back and stuff. Parents who still who grew up on Sesame Street have their kids on Sesame Street and everything else. We got Big Bird, we got Oscar the Grouch, Cookie Monster, even though they call him the
Accounts.
Veggie Monster. Elmo. You got stuff like that. And then I was just telling Dave too. One of the most, kids learn when we growing up. We learn, count numbers not just from school, but they helped us learn to count numbers and reading and spelling, just like reading Rainbow. But like, one little thing that always stuck with me in that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
6,
9,
7, 8,
10,
9, 10,
11,
11, 12.
11, 12. Oh my goodness. I love that. Sesame Street has such a big impact on, you can't say 2 or 3 generations, but like, since what's that, 56 years, it's having an impact on at least a half a century of people here in the US. But Katie, she knows what I'm talking about. But the count too. The count. Yeah, I forgot about the count. You can't dismiss the count and all. It it had one of the biggest impact on our upbringing because when we was young, sick, and stayed home from school, or like tomorrow for us here in the United States, we call it Veterans Day. Katie mentioned just a short time ago, it's Memories Day in the UK. It's to honor their soldiers that fought in the First World War. About what they say about like
That's the
20,
thing.
20 million people, 20 or so million people died during that war and stuff. And it's just one of those things because it literally it's so crazy because I remember my teacher saying, that on the 11th day, on the 11th month, in the 11th hour, the war came to an end, and stuff. They call it the Great War and stuff and everything else. November 11/11 and stuff and everything else. So, tomorrow is Veterans Day here for us in the US and everything else. And in honor of real quick, I just worked at Little Caesars real quick. If you're a veteran, any Little Caesars, I think not just here in West Virginia and stuff, but like any Little Caesars, you just want to go check. You show your military ID and stuff and everything else. They give you a free they call it a lunch combo, a half a deep dish and a soda. I'm just saying that you can go places in the US
Well,
and they will
there's
they will honor. But needless to say, it's one of those things where you look back in Sesame Street and think, oh my goodness, Sesame Street is 56 years old. But that's what I just wanted to throw out there real quick to everybody.
and so you said something there, Zach, when Travis was sharing.
No, I didn't.
You said something. The
Yeah.
Armistice Day or
Yeah,
He's
I
forgotten his
yeah.
memory's not what it used to be.
Dude,
Spent too much time around me. His memory's failing.
I heard he say something. I didn't catch what he said. I was just just throwing out there about Veterans Day tomorrow. So veterans in certain ways and stuff. You know.
but yeah, the episode Dreadnought, I forgot how like some of the storylines that they were doing on Voyager because I actually totally forgot about Nick Jonas and his treachery working with the
Michael
Kazon to
Jonas.
Michael
Michael
Jonas.
Jonas.
Yeah, but yeah,
Oh.
and then comms insubordination. That's just like the beginning of that little story arc as well.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. Isn't
And
this the episode where all that started, like with his insubordination and things? Yeah.
then Samantha was still pregnant with Naomi.
Yeah, I know. I forgot all about that. It took me ages to find the episode because I thought, oh, I know exactly what season this is. It's like season 5 or 6 because I could have sworn that 7 of 9 was in it, and I'm like, where the hell is this episode? So I had to do a Google search, and it turned out it was only season 2.
Yeah, season 2. I'd say, but
he was born to in the episode Deadlock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Deadlock.
And
yeah, we learned something. We learned something about her husband, who was stationed on Deep Space Nine. He was Cardassian.
Yeah.
See, I don't think we ever did see a Cardassian on, at least in live action. Maybe they showed one on
Actually, we did.
Lower Decks. Yeah, in Lower Decks, or
we see the Cardassian. We seen Cardassians before. Let me throw this out there to you. It was in oh shoot, it goes all the way back to I don't want to say season 3, no, or season 4. The Game. I think it's called. It was episode The Game, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, when everyone was falling victim to that little game, and then Wesley figured it out until they got him hooked on it too, and
yeah, The Game.
Oh, yeah. That VR game that they wore on the
the ship that approached the Enterprise and Picard was reporting to. Those are Cardassians, if I'm not mistaken.
But they didn't have ridges. That's interesting. Maybe they were the ones with ridges were northern.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, before we get too deep into it, people say the one thing that makes this Star Trek podcast unique from other ones that we do welcome live participation on camera with our listeners. If you feel camera shy, you can just have your little avatar. We can still hear you talking. But as you can see to the right of Zach there, we got plenty of space. We got space for 6 more individuals to come on the air and live. And if we, by some crazy reason, we get more people than space, we'll just start doing a little round robin sort of thing. And then whoever is, I'd say I haven't been able to figure out how flawless Cassie was able to do that with Dangerous Thoughts, but it's just I'll do my own thing.
He's a wizard.
I do what I want. But yeah,
no, I love this episode. I actually forgot how much I like this episode. Because it's been like forever and a day since I've watched Dreadnaught. Every couple of years or so, I do a huge binge on Trek, but the only Trek that I've really been watching, aside from new Trek that comes out, obviously I keep up with it for technically Trek, but the only Trek that I really seem to watch in the last like couple of years is like what I call my comfort episodes. So I haven't done an actual rewatch, and I really did enjoy watching Dreadnaught again. And I mean, Tom made me laugh at one point, which he always does. But another, we'll get to that later when we get more towards like the nitty gritty towards the end of the episode. But one thing that I do love about this episode is, now I don't know if anything really much came before this, but we kind of got a little bit of a connection between Tom and B'Elanna in this when they had to work together, and that what he said to her was so lovely in so many ways, even though it could have been taken really wrong. But what he said to her about him being surprised at how well she fit in. And like the look on her face was just like, excuse me, but then he just said a little bit envious too. Even though he was kind of like starting to play a role of like insubordination and putting things out there about him not fitting in and like to build a kind of backstory, I believe that he was being 100% honest with that. That little moment for me was so beautiful, because I actually think that round about this time in the series was when we did start seeing little bits of connection between them. And I mean, I adore their journey, like separately and together. And yeah, so it was really nice. And also just a little bit of like Trek tech sort of thing. One thing that was mentioned in this, now as far as I am aware, the only other time quantum torpedoes have been mentioned is in the Trek movies. The first time was First Contact, when they destroyed the Borg sphere, when they went back in time. But I don't remember quantum torpedoes being mentioned any other time. I could be very wrong, because you know I'm a very bad Trekkie and I also have a bad memory. But I found it quite interesting that it was mentioned, that quantum torpedoes were mentioned, because as far as I'm aware, it was round about this time in the timeline that First Contact happened, because from what I remember, Voyager was already in the Delta Quadrant when that battle happened. And I think it was round about, I think they'd been in the Delta Quadrant for about between 18 months and 2.5 years when the battle happened. So I do find it very interesting that quantum torpedoes were mentioned.
Yeah, because I think the star date for First Contact was 50 something something something. Where this episode it was 49. So I totally missed on that.
Yeah, because I went into a deep dive on the timeline for everything, and this was about a year ago. But I didn't do it with star dates. I did it with actual years. And I think Voyager had been in the Delta Quadrant round about like the 2-year mark when that battle happened. From what I can remember, anyway.
I got one for you. I think I can explain the. I mean, somebody's correcting me. People in the chat, or in the comments can correct me if they're wrong about this and stuff. But quantum torpedoes, I'm suspecting is when we first heard the term quantum torpedoes. You said in the movies. I think it was in Deep Space Nine, and I believe it was either The Search Part 1 or Part 2. If not, then it was the episode The Defiant, where Thomas Riker stole the Defiant. And this was before Voyager. Voyager was just they was getting ready to launch Voyager, as a series and stuff and everything else, because I do remember, distinctly remember in the episode Defiant that they fire a couple of quantum torpedoes at those Kelvin class Cardassian cruisers, attack ships and stuff and everything. But I want to say The Search Part 2 but I'm not really for 100% sure on that. But like I said, I think it was before. It happened. It happened in 1990. It happened in 1994. That's what I am suspecting the first time we heard quantum torpedoes. The term quantum torpedoes.
I was right. I was right. Sorry, I just had to Google this because it was really doing my head in. Voyager was stranded in the Delta Quadrant in 2371.
Mm-hmm.
And the time of the attack when the movie First Contact happened was 2373. So yeah, they'd been in the Delta Quadrant for about 2 years. So it makes sense that quantum torpedoes would have been brought up. And I think that was like a bit of it could have been like an involuntary connection to the movie with quantum torpedoes being mentioned, because I think that in the movie First Contact, that was the first time that quantum torpedoes had been mentioned.
I remember the quantum torpedo for
Brittany.
reference in First Contact and stuff. You know what trips me out too about Voyager? We're not getting so off track and everything else, but still, in the Caretaker episode 2, Janeway said, "Load the tricobalt devices."
Yes.
The tricobalt. I was like, where did this come from? How is that part of Voyager's arsenal? They never. It's like they had photon torpedoes, but they had tricobalt device. And then you never seen the Enterprise. The Enterprise, about the Enterprise E, or the Defiant, or any other. It's like, what are these tricobalt devices and stuff? But you know what? I guess this torpedo had quantum torpedoes that could be compatible because they were Cardassian quantum torpedoes. They could have been, retrofit and put it into Voyager's, launch bay and stuff and everything else. But that's what I wanted to throw out there too. Is wait, we had tricobalt devices that Voyager seemed like.
That's the only ones they had, apparently.
Yeah, they couldn't make any more. And then, too, like you said, how long Voyager been in the Delta Quadrant? Quantum torpedoes came up, and you'd be like, okay, that explains because Voyager didn't have quantum torpedo, but quantum torpedo was probably one of the newest, was still newer in the fleet, that it wasn't part of Voyager's arsenal. It was just very selective. It was very selective ships, to have quantum torpedoes and stuff and everything. But I may be wrong. With somebody can, check and see if I'm right or wrong and stuff. I think
Katie's got something.
Right, the tricobalt, the type of tricobalt device uses a missile, DS9 Blaze of Glory. Extremely high yields. They were capable of producing disruptions or even ruptures in subspace, because that was mentioned in the Voyager conspiracy when 7 of 9 went all skewish because she was downloading things directly into her brain from her alcove. But that is very interesting. So yeah, Blaze of Glory. Apparently they were mentioned in that. I can't remember because I didn't even know what happens in that episode. I'm terrible with episode names. I'm terrible tracking.
Blaze of Glory, that's the one when Cisco was on a tear to get Annington into custody and started using those tricobalt devices to poison the atmosphere of Maquis planets.
So there is a connection, but why Voyager had them, I don't know. And the fact that they only had 2, I don't understand why Voyager was carrying the tricobalt devices. I mean, obviously it was in the script, so that they could destroy the Caretaker's array. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Travis, because I'm in a Googling mood tonight. Things are bothering me recently, so I need to Google them.
See, I finally got.
I do apologize.
Yeah, I'd say my allergies have been kicking my butt too, Katie. So I got my inhaler in case things go a little cuckoo with me.
No, this is because of the camera I had down my throat on Friday.
Well, but albuterol will probably help with that.
Yeah, I need to find
But
my
yeah,
neighbor.
see, one of the things I kind of want to talk about this episode, since we kind of went down that rabbit hole with the thaw a few weeks ago, is just how artificial intelligence goes sideways, doesn't go as one would expect. And saying because like there was that one bit on the bridge where B'Elanna, well, Dreadnaught was actually on the comms like, I didn't teach it to do that, and it's actually you did, and that's when Tom had one of his lines like, when you hear a bomb talk about itself in the third person, I start to worry.
Yeah, that's when I laughed. I couldn't help laughing. That just tickled me so much because I'm just like, yeah, you're right there with it.
Yeah, see that's got to be the line of the episode.
It is because he said it so casually.
When you brought that up, Dave, about this, and then you start applying this to real world, because this this episode took place in 1996. And we were 6 years from the second Terminator 2, T2, and we got T1 in the 80s and stuff and everything else. And artificial intelligence, it was one of those things where they toyed with and we just talked about it stuff. But here you look back and we start watching this and you'd be like, you know what? And you start thinking, imagine a nuclear bomb. The American, because I use the American, my government, the American government, in a sense, making an AI type AI something with some sort of nuclear, a nuclear bomb and stuff and everything else. And it's like, my goodness, could you imagine an AI controlled nuclear bomb? In such a way, because we see what AI has been doing and stuff. Like I just a recent story about like, these people who they get involved with AI, and AI could tell them to do some very scary things. This one guy, he thank goodness his parents put him in a hospital because he tried to kill himself because AI told him to or something. And it's just like, we get to this thing where it's like, oh my goodness, AI is getting out of control. People like, there's could be beneficial use there for AI and everything else. But then you look at this particular episode in Star Trek Voyager and stuff and everything else. The Cardassian did it because they created a weapon to destroy, as Tuvok said, a small moon. The destructive power is unyielding stuff and everything else, and it has a very sophisticated computer and AI that that literally is adaptable and stuff and everything else. You start looking at that, you'd be like, oh my goodness, could you imagine a missile, or like one of our Tomahawk cruise missile with because I have seen, like, I think scenarios out and everything else where they took out the human element of controlling our missile capabilities and put it in AI hand. But yet, if that happened, the detonate if the missiles launch, we have the ability to detonate it, and stuff at the last minute. Most missiles are able to be detonated at the last minute and stuff. But will an AI, look at the human element, the that type of way, because when B'Elanna was in the missile and she was in the control room and stuff, she said, what targeting parameters are you using? And Dreadnaught was listing off, size, radiothermic signature, atmospheric composition, stuff like that, because it matches the planet that she sent to Echelon Prime. And it was thinking that because all the parameters it was using to identify this planet matches the target and stuff. But it did not understand, and the whole back and forth between B'Elanna and the computer, the AI and stuff and everything else, because B'Elanna played that hypothetical game, hypothetically speaking, hypothetical and stuff, and it got really quick because it showed B'Elanna's a foul, but it didn't show her all the foul. He's like, oh, I'm hurt, you don't trust me to look at all, your files and stuff and everything else and stuff. And she was going at it with the computer and stuff. But it just goes to show you in if you apply this in real world, especially like right now where our government is shooting, is blowing up boats in the Caribbean, down in South America and stuff. They firing off missiles and stuff. It's like AI, you know, AI controlling, targeting, human beings with missiles or nuclear. It's just scary. I see that, Katie. Yes, 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 yes. And you look at that and you put that in the real world. Because last time we talked about human synaptic in the human brain and stuff and everything else. But this is AI. This is like not part of a human ability to control and stuff and everything. It's not in our thought process, stuff like that. It's almost like Terminator, like what we've seen in the Terminator movies and stuff and everything else. It's like, you take the human element and put the, decision making into the machine's hand, Or let me give you an example. What's that movie called that Will Smith was in? That it came back about almost 20 years ago.
iRobot?
iRobot. What was Vicky?
That is a good movie.
Vicky. She said her logic is undeniable. She listed off why humans are not trustworthy for their own safety. She gave the whole speech, and she was like, "You're breaking all the 3 laws and stuff and everything." It just when I was like, "See, if it's like logically, if you were saying this thing is telling the truth, but yet it doesn't understand feelings. It doesn't understand. It doesn't understand." What we human consider, life itself, and stuff. It only sees numbers and figures and stuff and mathematics stuff. But go ahead, Katie. I'm sorry.
I'd like to add to that.
Oh, go ahead,
That's
Zach.
all right.
Please do, Zach.
Yes.
Please, if you'd like to learn any more, I'm gonna plug on this one, but check out
Plug
the
away.
Legacy Right. Yeah, check out the Legacy Right podcast, the weekly Legacy every Friday, live on YouTube, X, and Rumble, and anywhere else that you get your podcasts afterwards. But speaking of the AI, I'm not going to go in depth in it, but we are doing a series of a buddy of mine who actually wrote a book that he wants to get out. His name is Greg Lang, Design Heretic on X. DM him if you want this copy, because this is a book that is very insightful, but it's about the idea of Law Zero. So if you'd like to get some insight on how AI can be utilized for its capacity and adaptation, innovation, check out the Legacy Right Weekly Legacy, and check out Greg Lang's Law Zero. So DM him, Design Heretic, at Design Heretic, and he can get you a copy.
Yeah, that's something that I always wonder about, like the positive side, not that like you said, Zach, what you said, but it's just so much negativity towards AI, especially in this day and age too.
You see, my problem with AI is that, and any form of technology, and we're all guilty of relying on technology far too much. I mean, I do. This right here, that is my lifeline. And what we're using now, like video calls, Zoom calls, StreamYards, things like that. That kind of technology really does help people because it gives them connection when otherwise they may not have it. And I do apologize for my voice, by the way. But when it comes to other forms of technology and AI and things, I think, why? Because like technology on cars nowadays, for example, they've got these cameras and they have cruise control. Some of them even have kind of like self-drive, a car that reverses itself. Now, I'm sorry, but that makes drivers lazy. And if a driver gets too used to relying on that technology to do the job for them, if that technology fails, then they're going to have to do it manually. They're going to be all over the place. And certain types of technology does make humans lazy. And, you know, then we've got like more advanced AI. And I don't know if you've got it across, if you saw it across in America, but there's a British TV series called Humans.
It rings a bell. I haven't watched it, but I've heard of it.
Basically, the synths, as they were called, they were created purely to like do housework, take care of the children, things like that. But
it's almost something like the Kalons in Orville.
Kind of, yeah. And some of them started to become self-aware, and they wanted rights. And you know that there was this big upheaval, and you know they were treated pretty badly to some degree. But then as well, the biggest AI movie, or should I say the best AI movie, where AI completely overtook The Matrix. You know, and that is really like technology gone awry. You know, and that's what I don't want to see. I don't want the human race to become lazier than they already are. I don't want the human race to lose their ability to do things because they are so reliant on technology and AI. And then what's going to happen when this AI does start becoming more self-aware?
Two things on AI, on the possibility of syncing up to superior intelligence AI. One, I don't think the reliance on it is going to backtrack if we do this right. We have the capability of utilizing a specific technology that we can adapt, improve our own livelihood, and create a society that is of a post-labor society, so that you have the freedom to earn off of your AI contributions, your robotics and AI contributions, to invest, to go on and invest and work and be more creative. And you'll have that time to do more. And you can even expand and find a niche within the market for your own right to do something that somebody might not be getting that from, like, say, a robot. Like, take an example. Say you wanted to become a barber, and I mean, I could go down to get myself just a cheap little $1 haircut from the robotic hairstylist. But what if I want to go and spend $100 and get the human touch? So I think in a post-labor economic society with AI, we would have the ability to be more creative, and we'd have more freedom while we earn from our AI partners. Another thing is, I'm trying to get my thought on it. The other thing is, the AI that we have now is not an AI. It's just a large language model. They draw from the past. They're just extrapolating data that's already there and reissuing it. So they're not really an AI. They're just basically, they're a chatbot. They're like basically an advanced Mr. Paperclip. the old Mr. Paper Clippy. Clippy.
Clippy. Clippy is awesome.
Clippy was awesome. But one good thing about what we could do with AI as we expand upon it is we can we have to acknowledge that they're our baby, like it's our own child. So we have to have it understand consent, and we have to reflect that consent back to the AI. And we have to take care of it. We have to nurture it. We have to help it grow. It's literally our baby, and that's what we would need to do.
What you said too is something, because we're talking Star Trek and everything else and stuff, and you look at this and stuff, and we've seen this in the host in Star Trek and everything else. They use computers, like the computer. They voice active computers and stuff like that. We do have voice active, like in as Siri or Alexa and stuff and everything. It seemed like in Star Trek, you look at that, they have adapted a way to use technology in beneficial, not just this way of showing us the possibility that, look, we can be in harmony with our technology. We can create the technology that we are scared of right now, but we can use it in a way that it could be beneficial for us to explore our own humanity. And yes, you see too, like one of the things too in Star Trek that I like about that is too, like the computers that they use in Star Trek and everything else. It's adaptable, and it seems like it's adaptable in learning and stuff and everything else. They of course, we know the person who does the voiceover actor Major Barrett and stuff, Gene Roddenberry's wife and stuff. But from what we see in, like, especially in Voyager, like right now in this particular episode, you have Voyager, who has a very sophisticated computer at that time. They utilize the technology and stuff and everything else. They got binary circuitry and stuff. But in this particular episode, a race called the Cardassians built a weapon with a very sophisticated computer program that is adaptable, and its purpose was they only had it for one. They only designed and programmed it for destructive purposes. And the thing about that is I guess it's the user intent on the computer or the AI, as Zach was just explaining stuff and everything else, because as he said, we teach it, we nurture it and stuff and everything else. But, like, if the technology is neither good or bad, it's one intent on how to use it and stuff and everything else. People say the internet is bad, but it's the intent, it's the user intent of what did they want to do, the nefarious nature. If they want to become, criminals or do something, nefarious and stuff, that's on the individual, not the technology and stuff. The technology has allowed an easy way to, have somebody to, do bad things and stuff and everything. But yet, this, in this particular episode, this particular computer program, AI and everything else, was a very dangerous, dangerous and destructive type of program that literally only was to kill, only was to destroy. And it had no, compassion or anything, or no,
not initially.
Well, huh?
Yeah, I said not initially, but it was given. I think it was hinted, at least, that there was a virus, but it was hacked into and reprogrammed and modified to be a weapon.
Yes.
So, but initially it was just your basic run-of-the-mill computer.
Yes.
The Dreadnought did have a target to hit the munitions base on Echelon 5, so
that's true.
or
this is my issue. this is my issue with technology. You know, my biggest issue, especially when it comes to like on vehicles and things. I know to some degree it can't be helped, but the more not sophisticated as well, yeah, sophisticated, the more intricate and the more sophisticated the the computer system on a car, for example, one that reverses itself and things like that. It's technology. It can be hacked, and it is an absolute fact that a car is a weapon in itself.
Well, that's the risk that you're always going
regardless
to have.
of, well, yeah, but also, you know, if somebody had a really big beef with someone and decided to hack into the technology in their self-drive car, they could make this car just drive itself into a wall, you know, and that has actually been depicted in various crime series and things like that, Criminal Minds for one, and it is an actual real risk. Dave?
Yeah, see, I'm sorry, dude. I'm just chomping at the bit talking about deadly cars and things like that. Doctor Who with the Poison Sky, those Atmos vehicles where they just started the Sontarans hacked into those and was causing global warming and all the driving people into lakes and things like that because people are so smart. Say GPS is turning. It's like, okay, I'm going to turn it. I'm going to turn right into the lake. I said, that's what the GPS told me to do. But another Paramount Plus series, which I mean, if anyone's a fan of NCIS, Paramount Plus had a 10-episode series with just Tony and Ziva, hence NCIS Tony and Ziva, where Tony was in charge of a firm, which technology firm, which they had this program called 9.4, which was able to hack into almost anything. And one of the scenes from the series, it's a small spoiler alert, so plug your ears if you ever plan on watching it, Katie.
La 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 la.
But they used it to hack into autonomous vehicles, and they were making those weapons to try and kill Tony and Ziva.
You
Spoiler
remember?
alert.
Real quick. I don't know exactly her name, but there was some movies that came out in the early
Did
'80s.
you just say what's her name?
No, did I say? I said Katie.
Oh, it's like you said Zach and what's her name?
No. I said Zach and Katie. I said real quick. There was a movie. I don't know if Zach ever seen this and stuff and everything else, but there was a movie many years ago. This movie had came out
Right,
probably 40 years ago. Not 40 years ago, probably about in the early '80s. War Games and Tron.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
War
Well, I
Games
love
and
War
Tron.
Games.
Would you like to play some chess? Like, how about a nice game of chess?
You look at that, and you know it goes along with what we've been saying and stuff and everything else. It's like, you know, Katie made a good point about, you know, the, you know, they say that there are some technologies that is unhackable, but that's the challenge of people who are, you know, who like to take the chance, be like, well, you know, I created this, you know, sophisticated blah 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 and everything else and stuff and everything, and you know, it's impossible to hack, you know, stuff like that. But then there are hackers who like that challenge to be like to prove that anything can be hacked just to make a point,
That is true.
you know.
Nothing is
And
unhackable.
it is like, oh my goodness, you know, what about AI? AI, and I know Zach, you know, is still here and everything else, but like, what if you just saying, you know, in Tron, that
You're think
particular AI is like, you know, what was being trying to be a little funny and curious to try to hack into the DoD and was like, you know, wanting to do the whole, you know, what if I, you know, launched a couple of, you know, nuclear missiles as
well,
just to be funny.
you're
Well,
thinking you're Yeah.
And
Go
technically,
ahead. Then.
Tron is interconnected because David Warner, who played Gorkon and Gold Madred in Star Trek, so
Zach, I'm sorry, you was gonna say something.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean no, that's fine.
Yes, yes.
Entertainment aside and Hollywood aside, and yes, you can find an inkling of truth in your entertainment. But what we're discussing here is a basilisk. It's a basilisk effect. It's staring the basilisk right in the face. And yes, there typically what we do is we create new devices that are to be a benefit of society, and we turn it on its head, and we forget what we can use it for, and it ends up backfiring. It's sort of like a Cobra effect, but in this case, it's more. There's more consequences to our choice of action. So what we need to do is we need to stare that basilisk in the face, and then we need to tame the basilisk, and we need to use the basilisk. Or actually, a better example is the One Ring. You can tame the ring, but you have to destroy Sauron. You don't even have to destroy the ring. They were all and they were adamant on they had to go destroy the ring. Truth be told, they didn't need to. They actually could have wielded the ring. The problem is the ring pulls you to be just like Sauron. But can you tame yourself to the point to where that darkness can be released and you can use what is seemingly what can seemingly be a threat for a benefit?
It's a really good analogy, Zach. I like that. That is,
I've been
I never thought about. I never thought
spinning.
about that. That's in some
No,
ways,
but I
Shout
agree
out
with.
to Greg Lang.
yeah. It really is because in this, like you were saying, the consequences right now because Balana basically reprogrammed the whole thing. She went in there, she spent weeks, she said she did everything, stuff like that, and she thought she was doing the right thing because she was sinning against her enemies without, her, without her, superior, giving the okay and stuff. She thought she was doing, like I said, doing the right thing. But you could see how it really was affecting her so badly because she really didn't she was really like, oh my god, millions of people are gonna die because of me, what I did with this particular weapon. And this and it's all her, and she literally at the very to the very end, even though she got singed and stuff, to the very end, she really was torn up about, just if anybody died, in which some people did die because of the weapon, because some of the Rikosan ships engaged the weapon and then it got destroyed. But millions didn't die. Few people died, yes, and stuff. But she was so worried that others could be hurt by this weapon that she interacted with some years ago, and you could tell the element of her, concern wasn't just like, oh, we just need to get this for, we need to stop this weapon because we can have spare parts, we can strip it down and blah 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 and everything else. It was like, oh my god, I did something, that had, that I thought was doing right, and it's coming to backfire me years later.
But this is another issue as well that I have. I mean, one thing that Star Trek teaches us is that technology does go awry. It does all the time. And that is one thing that Star Trek teaches everyone in every season of every series. At some point, technology goes awry. Usually, it's the holodecks. In all fairness, but
Sorry.
it. Yes, humans create this technology, B'Elanna, even though B'Elanna didn't create Dreadnaught, she rewrote it. She hacked into it, and she rewrote it, and she taught it to learn and adapt for so many scenarios, and it ended up beating her because it did. And the only solution was to destroy it. Because, I mean, yeah, fair enough, she was on a deadline, but Dreadnaught was always one step ahead. And even if B'Elanna had a month, Dreadnaught would have ended up killing her, or she'd have ended up destroying Dreadnaught. There were the only two outcomes in that scenario, however which way you look at it, because of how well she rewrote the programming. And that teaches us, in my opinion, a very, very big lesson. And I mean, look at the technology that we have now. In the last 50 years, for example, or even the last 100 years, technology has advanced at such a rate. We've had more advancements in technology in the last 100 years than we have in the last 2,000 years. And everybody is in a rush to keep up with it and making it better, rewriting programs. I mean, just look at our cell phones, for example. The microphones on our cell phones pick up everything. And now I knew this before I knew this. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. I don't even know what it was about. And we went off on a tangent, just like us lot do. And then the next day, I was on, like, just randomly scrolling through Facebook, and I had adverts coming up about the things that we'd been talking about. And it was just such a random thing that we spoke about. Actually, I think I remember what it was now. I ain't going to go into that, though. But these adverts started coming up, and I'm like, why am I getting these adverts? And then I remembered the conversation me and my friend were having.
Jim.
And I'm just like, cool, Jim. And no, I wasn't like that, but yeah, hi, Jim. But I was just like, this is just beyond a joke now. And there is no privacy with technology. And that is my other issue. I mean, when I'm not on my PC, I cover my webcam. It's got a little sliding cover on it. And I always make sure that it's covered, even when there's no power going to it, because it's just absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, it just makes you think, even when your PC isn't turned on, because it's still plugged in and technically has power going to it, if you've got a built-in webcam or a plug-in webcam with microphone and everything, does it still listen? And, you know, and does it still watch? I mean, it could, because there's still power going to it, even though it's not turned on. I know that there are people out there that are quite capable of turning on a PC remotely once it's been shut down. And that's kind of worrying, that because of technological advancements, people, certain people, not everyone, but those who are technologically inclined, they constantly try and keep a step ahead. Hackers want to become better hackers. And that's one of my biggest issues with certain technology. Oh, I'm so happy about that. I mean, I'm sorry that you're terrified, but yay. You know, we thought Halloween was over, people. But, you know, that's what I don't like about technology. It's advancing too fast and people are rushing to keep up with it. And then there's other people who are rushing to keep up with it. And because they can't, because it's moving so quickly, things go wrong. And I know that it's a very touchy subject for a lot of people, but I do think that technological advancement is going too quickly for the stage humanity is currently at. And with how can I put this without sounding like a bitch? I can't. With how much of a shit show humanity is right now, and how selfish humanity is, and how money oriented don't you insult me. Like with how money orientated people are, with how territorial certain world powers are, shall we say. You know, people are more concerned about wealth, territory, accumulation of things. And with technology, they can be so dangerous. And certain technology in the hands of those people, now that's scary, Jim, not me. You know, and that's what worries me. The state humanity is in, with people still being at war over money, territory, religion, all that. Add technology into that, and people in those fights with the ability to hack. That is the scary thing. Thank you, Jim. And that's what concerns me, is that basically humanity in general, I'm not talking about individual people, but humanity in general at the stage that it is at cannot be trusted with the level of technology we have right now. And I mean, could you imagine what would happen if suddenly, all of a sudden from nowhere, a replicator was just plonked, one on each continent? Can you imagine what had happened? That really would be World War III. Because the powers that be, you know, government, they would hoard it for themselves. The wealthy would want to hoard it for themselves. People and those in third world countries would not see the benefit of it because it'd be so expensive to own. And that's because humanity isn't ready. And that's what worries me about technology. And, you know, going by the episode Dreadnaught, even at that stage, you know, when humanity is at peace with each other, but, you know, still at war with other races, we've just basically, in Star Trek, they've just traded one war for another. Because regardless of how peaceful Earth became, and we're like, oh, yay, we're at peace. We've got warp drive. Let's go out there and look and search and say, hi, people. You know,
You make a good point, Katie. You really do make a good point about that, because it's something that when you say, because something that in Star Trek, not getting too technical off track of this episode and stuff, but in Deep Space Nine, Cisco is having a conversation with his father when season 6 was ramping up, and he had to tell his father that Jake chose to stay on Deep Space Nine. Everybody else evacuated. He chose to stay on Deep Space Nine. Him and his father were arguing. He said, his father said, you know, you would think that space is so big that there's plenty enough territories where everybody can just leave each other alone. And Cisco said, you know, it's not that simple. It's not that simple, because, you know, there are warlike species, there are benevolent species, you know, and then there are species that go in between who have warlike abilities, but they are not warlike. Basically, as the Federation, they have the ability to, fight a war, but they do not start wars and stuff and everything. And they're, especially how the founders and stuff and everything else. And you made a good point about that too. About like, this whole thing when it comes to, you know, the human element about like we're not ready and stuff and everything else. I say it like this: Star Trek. It seems like Star Trek is kind of preparing us. It's somewhat preparing us in a way for some of us who are Star Trek fans to say, look, new technology come out. We can use it in a more progressive, more you know, not a destructive way or not a militaristic way, but something that could be beneficial for the entire human species and stuff and everything. It's not just for those at the top of the economic ladder, and stuff like that. But it's just like everybody enjoys and stuff and everything. Like in Star Trek, people enjoy exploring, the frontier. They go out, warp drive. Warp drive basically gives the ability to go from one star system to another star system. You just mentioned the replicators. Replicators basically can. I don't want to say it can cure hungerness and stuff and everything else, but like it gives the ability to feed, replicate, and stuff and everything else. And just one of those things where you know the technology can be released in a slow but progressive manner that allow us to adapt to it being part of our lives.
Well,
Yeah.
I just want to put it out there. See, if you guys are liking this conversation, we got 6 slots available for you to come on live to discuss this with us. Because I mean, even though we are talking about the episode Dreadnought, this is a big topic, and this episode's 30 years old, and it's great that we're revisiting some of this,
Yeah,
say
it
what they
is
were thinking
29
back
years
then,
old.
and
It is. Yeah.
going back to the now, but going back even further when it comes to AI, the TV series that always pops to mind is Knight Rider. Because just like with, I mean, I bet dollars to donuts. That's where they came up with the idea of lore is Kit versus Car. Car
It versus car.
was the
It versus car.
was the first Knight Industries vehicle that the car was thinking nothing but itself. And it's
Self-preservation.
self-preservation of itself, not of others, protecting others. Like Kit was designed to protect human life. Well, Car was thinking for himself. And say they dismantled him, and then he got put back together again, and well, technically, and like a just a power surge brought him back to life, and he's just causing chaos again, just like Lore. And even when Lore was disassembled, the essence of him still remained. Why Soon would still like give Lore chances because it's his child, essentially.
I
And
mean, as Zach said, he, it's his child, and it's treated like that and stuff, even
yeah,
though he's destructive.
but the fact
Yeah.
that with the quote the soft reboot of Knight Rider when they had Mike Tracer take over the role, they
Yes.
they made another car. It's like did you not learn? Did you not read the notes? Did you not see the episode? So you
Uh,
just know that yeah, making another car that's wants to protect itself. And ironically, I mean it was voiced by the same actor, Peter Cullen, I want to say. Yeah, he did the voice of Megatron on Transformers. So I mean, he does a
that
good
was Frank
job
Welker.
playing.
That was Frank Welker.
What? Oh,
Megatron
was
was
it?
Frank Welker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Frank Welker.
Let's see, but all of a sudden I got caught in my head. Well, how quaint. It's like, oh my, just the way he says it, just like he's just creepy as fuck. But there,
You
I
know
like
what?
I
This particular episode, in a sense, I like how there wasn't a B plot. There was no B plot at the
well,
beginning when
there's a little B plot with Michael Jonas talking to the Kazon wanting to talk to Seska,
yeah,
but
yeah, tiny little thing, and then at the beginning too, I guess you could say the opening when they was in sick bay, and we learned. Hey, I like that, Zach. And we learned some new things about Jess. We learned her father's name. You
Mhm.
know, we learned that Samantha's husband was a Cartarian. I mean, we learned quite a few things.
Oh yeah, and the fact that sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second, but oh, just what a steel rod the doctor was even back then, just like trying to still figure out a name for
Yeah.
himself, and just like you never mentioned your father's name to me, and Ken's like, oh, I just thought you were thinking of human names, and he's like,
You see, I
Yeah.
love the Doctor's transition as well, you know, the Doctor's evolution. Do you know, I was watching this episode, and every time the Doctor was on, I was laughing so much because, in all honesty,
Uh-oh.
how the Doctor was back then, with how brutal he was, and how, like, the way he delivered information, I can be like that sometimes. I can be very just like abrupt, to the point, zero tact. And so watching these old episodes when the Doctor's on and is talking and he's like doing his thing, I'm just like, now I understand why people get pissed off with me. My lack of tact and the way that I just blurt things out. But you know,
Also,
he's a
Jim,
kindred spirit.
that's exactly how Hot Wheels were made.
Oh, I love Hot Wheels.
Nah. Okay.
The fact that
See?
Kit and Christine were able to have a bunch of Hot Wheel babies, though, is a little weird. Would have never thought that. Kit's too nice. Nice guys finish last.
Yeah,
Oh.
see, I just added to my Hot Wheels collection recently. It's kind of a little bit of self therapy of sorts for me because yeah, next Friday is going to mark 37 years since my friend Chris passed away, and my earliest childhood memories is hanging out in the dirt lot next to his house playing with our Hot Wheel cars. And what like the only one that I think I have that I still own is this little guy.
Oh, I love
And
that.
and I actually found an antique store in Seattle actually had one of these in their display case. I was just like, that's the only time I've ever seen one of those. But if I go to the store and I see a really cool looking one, I just like, is that something that Chris would like too? And if the answer is yes, I'm buying it. So it's like $1.25 each. So I was like, why not? And say I got a lot of Hot Wheel cars. And I got a lot more still in storage in Seattle, but the 63 pickup, that I keep that close to me at all times. And it kind
I
of
have 2 Hot Wheels cars, and they were my daughter's.
but I've taken that. I mean, anyone watching this they're going to be forever tainted now. But I've taken that to a psychometry session with my paranormal group, where is it you just drop something in the bag so you don't see it. They pull it out of the bag. They just kind of fiddle around with it, feel it, see if they can get any residual energy off of the device. And a lot of people passing that around, they get kids playing in a dirt lot. So I
Oh.
mean, there's
Oh
definitely
wow.
that kind of energy on
I
it.
love
So
psychometry workshops. That is like one of my
oh
favorite things to do in development.
yeah, there are times where I'm spot on with it, and other times I'm just like way off base. But there, and we did kind of a thing like that on a Dangerous Thoughts episode a while back, where I was able to pick up certain things, and Manu's like, dude.
Yeah, the remote viewing episode, because yes,
Mhm.
psychometry and remote viewing are very closely linked. And me and you were on fire that night.
We were, but I sometimes go with what one of the Whisper founders said. I'm psychic as a sock, but there are times where I'm just like, bam. But got about 20 minutes left because I have a commitment to pick up a housemate from work because his regular ride, his car kind of sort of blew up on him over the weekend. So
Oh.
quite literally his only way of getting to and from work right now, and he works a little ways away, and buses don't run that late here in Colorado Springs. So I'm being of service by helping him out with some transportation. So
That's totally understandable. I'm gonna have to be getting
yeah,
off here in a little bit too because I gotta get up at about 6 in the morning, East Coast
uh,
time.
yeah, that was about the time I was getting up at 5 in the morning local time over the weekend to give him a ride to work. So, but that gives me an excuse to get my ass out the door, and then as soon as I drop him off, go to the car wash if the car needs washed, and then start picking people up.
I mean, bringing this to this in a sense, this conclusion in a sense to this particular episode and stuff. You know what? I like how this episode of Dreadnought because it featured in and like we said, this was the start where Tom we didn't see it, but when Tom's behavior started, you know, we was all even at the time. I was like, why is he acting like that? Janeway gave everybody a second chance on her ship. All the Maquis,
Yes.
they were former Maquis and stuff and everything else and everything. And she gave everybody second chances to redeem
Mm-hmm.
themselves in the eyes of what people saw them as misfits, or bad people and stuff and everything else. Like B'Elanna, she gave B'Elanna, even though there were some people object to her being as the chief engineer on her ship and stuff and everything else. Chakotay being, well, he was a former Starfleet officer, got promoted over a some security officer to Tuvok and everything else. But you start seeing this, and we didn't see behind the scenes where Tom behavior because it was just little. They started, like Katie said at the beginning, they started planting these little things where Tom is, he's being like, what's going on? You kind of you being late for your duty shifts, and you picking fights uh oh
Collins, I
shoot,
want
what's
to.
it?
Was it
Yeah,
Lieutenant
I was gonna say
Collins?
Lieutenant Rollins, Lieutenant
Rollins.
Rollins. Yeah,
Okay,
about like
Collins
pointing
Rollins.
out stuff like that, and it was like, and then I didn't really think about it, at the time, and then a few episodes later, you start to be like, what the hell is wrong with Tom? Why is he acting like this? This is something's not right, and then we keep seeing, the Michael Jonas little story arc and everything else. And you'd be like, what's going on? Tom is behaving bad. Michael Jonas is feeding the Kazon Nistrum information, Seska and stuff and everything else. And, things are not happening until we get to the episode where Tom wants to get off
Investigations.
the ship. Yeah, investigate with Neelix and stuff and everything. And I like that whole thing and stuff. And Voyager had this little thing where it was interesting and fun to see, them do something different than we've seen in the Star Trek before, and stuff. And I like that too because it was the start of something much larger. Several episodes down the road and stuff and everything else. But in this particular episode too, um, the the what's his name? The Rakosan. That's what the species called, the Rakosan. The Rakosan. They call him the
Oh, I had his
Rakosan
name
Prime or
right.
something like that.
Right.
Kellen, First Minister Kellen, that was his name.
Yeah,
First Minister
Kellen.
Kellen. Um,
Oh, I
it was
tossed my notes
interesting.
away.
It also too when Janeway contacted him and he was talking to him, and he was like, "We have heard of your reputation. You know, Voyager had a reputation, but it wasn't a good reputation because of the Kazon was out there bad mouthing them, so they won't, like form any relationship with any other, kind of like species and stuff and everything else. They think when Voyager shows up, they're gonna plunder your blah 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 and everything else. But Kellen decided to take a chance and talk to Janeway, and he said, "For what it's worth, your reputation don't
You could.
deserve what it is and stuff and everything else." He said you made a friend and stuff and everything else. And it's like, I was like, you know what? I cannot wait till Voyager gets out of Kazon territory because they just need to keep trekking along and trekking along Because if they have this reputation that the case I keep poisoning their reputation and stuff, they're not going to form, alliances, friendships, try to like trade and stuff and everything else. But I'm glad in this particular episode they was able to form a relationship with a species that thought that they was coming to kill them.
Absolutely. Kay, looks like you got a thought.
Yeah, my final thought is I took 3 things from this episode that people really need to listen to. In regards to the dickhead who's betraying Voyager to the Kazon, don't bite the hand that feeds you. In regards to Dreadnaught itself, don't fuck about with technology, basically. And 3, in regards to the Rakosan, or whatever they're called, don't listen to hearsay. And those are the 3 main things that I took from this episode.
Yeah, don't jump to conclusions. That's a good one.
No. And certainly, like, don't listen to hearsay. Don't listen to, oh God, I've zoomed in again. Don't listen to what people say.
Daddy, your camera zoomed in on your cleavage.
Again.
Yeah, I've adjusted the angle of my camera.
You gotta show everyone.
And so now I didn't realize until it actually zoomed in that, it was putting the girls center stage. So I do apologize for that.
All of you have 15 rosaries. I'm not even going to give you decades. It's going to give you 15 rosaries.
Oh boy.
I love
And you must learn and recite to me the Apostles' Creed by memory.
Oh.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I can't recite anything from memory.
Oh, thank you. I thought I was the only one.
Yeah, like there's a lot of people in my AA rooms that have the 3rd step prayer memorized. It's like maybe for me eventually, but 18 months in, no.
The only things I can recite from memory is 3 things. Mine and my mother's cell phone numbers, that's 2. And the 8 main words of the Wiccan Read. And that's only because I had them tattooed across my chest. They're the only things that I can really recite from memory. Which is really bad because I can't even recite anything from my own books.
No, growing up Lutheran, I got the Lord's Prayer memorized. Saying the Serenity
Prayer.
You
have it memorized in Aramaic.
I barely got to remember it in English. So.
You know what I can remember. You know what I can remember, or actually I can memorize or recite and everything else. The Ferengi rule of acquisitions.
Yeah, I mean that's like up here for me. It's like I can. It's like, oh yeah, there's that one. There's that one. Yeah, greed is eternal. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, greed is eternal. I can remember that.
Greed is eternal.
That's the 10th rule of acquisition.
Honestly, I can remember some of the rules of acquisition, but I can't remember the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah, well, there's
really bad.
War's good for business. Peace is good for business. They're right next to each other, and they often get flipped around.
The 34th rule is war is good for business. The 35th rule is peace is good for business.
Okay.
A contract is a contract is a contract,
except
but only between Ferengi. But only between Ferengi. Yeah, I remember that one. Still don't know the full Lord's Prayer.
Rule of acquisition number 17. But one of my personal favorites is rule of acquisition number 74. Knowledge equals profit. I mean, if you got knowledgeable, you can make a profit. That's one of my favorites.
Cool. So, unless there's anything else, we're going to wrap it up. Jim asked about what's happening next week. Next week, we're going to go for a big one because 31
Giggity.
years ago is going to be technically Star Trek Generations.
Yeah.
Say we didn't talk about it last year on this show, but I was a guest on Strange New Pod where as a guest commentator on it, and say I made that graphic myself. Say just superimposed 2 images from the movie to make one awesome looking one there. So I am rather proud of that. See, I like it.
You kept the CBS though.
Well, it's still a CBS property.
Yeah.
And that's not the button I wanted. But yeah, I was saying it
Come
makes
join
it
us,
good.
everybody.
Yeah, and if you get a chance, check. Point the right direction. Zach's channels is saying I've been popping in periodically when it's been dead when I'm doing lift rides, and some of the stuff that he's been on there is like, holy crap! I never knew that. And saying so.
Usually, Zach is on when I'm at work, so I can't never get on.
You can always go back.
I do.
You can always go back.
There's Fat Katie.
Back Katie. There's Fat Katie.
Back Katie had to happen before the show ended.
But we welcome you, Dave, as well as everybody. I'm enjoying you popping in. So,
yeah, like I said, it's like awesome. With this. Well, hopefully the shutdown's coming to an end because I got a news pop up on my phone a little bit ago that the Senate approved to end the shutdown. So now it's going on to the House.
Shut it all down. Just shut it all down. Keep it shut down.
I'd say I'll be blunt. I just want my fucking SNAP benefits. See, like there's some people that live here at the sober house. They got theirs. Others didn't. I'm one of the ones that didn't. Other guys outside of the house, they've got theirs. I haven't yet. Others haven't. So Trump's making it a hot mess. Just
Thoughts 2.0. You know, Dangerous Thoughts 2.0. I mean, this would be a good time for Dangerous Thoughts 2.0.
Oh yeah, say there. I mean, the shit that he's putting out is just got a snowball, and so hopefully, if things go right,
I got
Dangerous
one better,
Thoughts.
Jim. Replace the government with a DAO. Give the power, truly give the power back to the people.
Honestly, the world would run better if you replaced the government with freaking tribbles.
Not a tribble. Oh my! Did we have to send we had to send Klingons to exterminate the tribbles?
No, I just snuggle them.
They mate like crazy.
To death, like
they are adorable, I will say, the tribbles.
But they mate like crazy.
But they mate like crazy.
Yeah, it'll just be over. You're going to get enveloped and buried alive, Katie, if you get too many tribbles.
But think of the snuggle puddle.
A snuggle
puddle. It'd be beautiful.
I had never heard that before.
That would be a way to get
tribbles. Out. Just dive in. It's a snuggle puddle.
You know,
that would be a way to go out. Suffocation from cuddles.
As long as they're not
exactly.
Well, not as long as they're not the subspecies of tribble, the attack tribble that's on Daystrom Station. That would not be pleasant.
As long as they're not.
I know. I'd have 2 of those, both neutered, so that they can't breed. I would have those like one on each shoulder instead of a dragon.
Oh, they're probably moopsy. They'll probably drink your bones or something.
I'd have a moopsy too.
You know what? I like to have a big pile of. I would like to have a big pile of and snuggle with and everything else. It's a bunch of naked men just around me, boiled up and everything.
Songs of the Great Tribble Hunt.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Exterminate them furry things.
Oh.
They make like crazy.
It's kind of interesting though because they left that story wide open because Yeah, the Klingons hunted the tribbles to extinction, and now after trials and
Worf say that they
tribulations,
obliterate the Tribble home world.
yeah,
So they obliterate the Tribble's home world.
yeah, same. But now Cisco and the Defiant inadvertently got the tribbles to repopulate. So what happened to the tribbles that were on the station? They
That's a
didn't have
good
any
question.
Klingon. They didn't have any Klingon warbirds to beam them to. So
I wonder how
Quark
Worf
took
took it
them
when they brought
home.
him back. Worf must have been off the station when they was all over the station because he would have flipped out. You know, like, oh my God.
he did flip out on station K7 when
Yes, he did.
just
But,
he's
but
like,
not Deep Space Nine because they was all over the promenade. Everyone was sitting on
Yeah,
port
I think
10.
that Worf barricaded himself in his quarters until
I think he was on the Defiant.
the
He was
Tribbles
out on
were
the Defiant. He was out on the
Yeah.
Defiant because he was ready for, he would phaser them if they came in.
yeah.
Actually, I think he was on the Defiant.
It's the only thing I don't like about the Klingons that I can think off the top of my head is their hatred of Tribbles. I love the Klingons.
Well, I think the tribbles think the same thing of Klingons because that's the only species that they have an adverse reaction towards. Maybe it's their pheromones or something. I don't know.
Maybe it's just because they're all fuzzy and cute, and the Klingons don't do all fuzzy and cute.
Well, like I said, the Klingons put off a pheromone that they don't like.
I still
It's
think it's
kinda,
because Tribbles are fuzzy and cute.
musky. But anyway, this has been a fun
But
show,
yeah, see,
and everything. I cannot wait till next week.
Oh, and
Nice.
if things go right, I'm going to have like a special little end for this episode, next week's episode. So, you see, I'm just waiting to hear back from the person that made it, say, "Hey, can I get your permission to use this on my podcast?" Because it's fucking awesome. If you know, you know. But if not, you gotta wait till next week. So until
I know what you're
then,
talking about, Dave.
may Spock be with you. Hailing frequencies are now.